Hey there! Oh, hey there, Bob from Oregon's Scott. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? Scott's here. Your question's 35.
You have them memorized?
Questions? No, I got them on my phone.
Oh, I was like, man, good for you.
As you can see, we have a wheel. The wheel decides who won the big Cyber Mutt Day sale.
The wheel will decide.
The wheel will decide. That's at the end. We're gonna keep that till the end, so that
we're not even going to reach out and let you know. So if you don't watch this, I mean, it's good for us that we don't have to ship it to us. So hopefully the winner's watching today.
Hopefully the winner's watching today. Viewer question 35.
Because remember, now Christopher's over here getting them all ready.
Right now.
He's filling out your tags. Matter of fact, they're all named Mike. Weird how many Mikes entered this year.
Odd. It is a popular name, but you wouldn't think
I sure
it'd be
hope
every
Mike
single
doesn't
person.
win. That would suck. Because if we pull Mike out of that,
yeah, then they're gonna be like, "Ow, rigged."
Maybe before you tear all those up, we take them and just do a quick through so they can see the names are all different.
We got a Michael, not a Mike.
Okay.
Well,
now we really.
Oh, we really pushed him now.
Well,
yeah, he can't win.
If Michael wins, there will be 2 winners today. Oh, good stuff.
Which questions? You ready?
Sure, let's go for it.
All right. Easy to slip. Question about using Bloom Chaos in flower. Do I add a little BK to my soil drench feeds in flower? Do I need to be careful as in foliar during veg? Should I be adding extra Herc or Circes for this as well? So a couple of things here. So is there any difference using BK with your BK to Herc ratio in earlier or later, and with regard to foliar over root drench?
Well, I mean, as long as you're in that ratio of the...
Which is?
1 to 6-ish.
1 to 6. And that's the same whether you're foliar, same whether you're or doing root drench, and same whether you're in veg or bloom.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You got to back it up with her. Now,
you really should. I mean,
or you'll have it.
Yeah, you'll find out why you don't.
It's wanting it, and that you're putting this in there to make it want the Herc,
yeah.
and so you're not giving the
demanding the Herc. Too.
Yeah.
It's demanding the calcium from it to make sure that it's going to be able to develop the cells that you're telling it to do.
It's like talking about bicycles all year and then getting your kid Daisy BB gun. Yeah,
cool.
see, it's like talking bicycles and then getting some clothes.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
That's just an oshbagosh. It's a kilt, son. It's not a kilt.
It's a skirt.
Screw you, Dad. So, and then the other question, Circes, Herc, right?
Well, Herc, I mean, Circes is a very soluble phosphorus, but it doesn't have the same calcium load as the Herc does. In combination, like bumping up the Circes with your Herc isn't going to hurt a thing, but your Herc would be your better balance for the making sure you have enough calcium in there, and just for that energetic growth explosion that you're going to get when you put the Chaos on. For
the most part, Herc is your calcium. It's like, because there's Herc in Medusa, there's Herc in Gaia, but Herc is to be for this purpose.
There's a reason why it's 2 tablespoons and not 2 tablespoons of Gaia or Medusa, because we're just wanting that excess calcium in there.
What it's for. All right. Mr. Cole Matthew, will BK help if only used mid to late flower?
Sure. It won't.
You could use it one time. It's going to help.
You'll see. It will help some way. You bet. But yeah, if some people don't want to aggressively vegetate their plants, they don't want to keep them too short. They just want to do a normal everything. Don't want to focus on the calcium delivery until they get into the bloom stage. But I'd say past mid bloom, you're just wasting your time if you're going to add it in the late bloom only or in the flush. You're not going to get the benefit. But once the plant sexes itself, it starts to actually put on the flowers. From that point on, you'll still see a really good benefit from using the Chaos. What I would do though is not just go in with the late recipe on the schedule. I would be introducing it at half rate or even quarter rate for a round, a half rate for one feeding, and then go to the full rate. Just acclimate the plant to it, because you're still telling this plant you're basically hitting the nitrous in mid flower, and the plant's not used to it, so it could literally lose its mind.
So if I decide going in, I'm going to use Bloom Chaos. So obviously, if I buy a quart of Bloom Chaos, that is enough to use too much for any grow.
Yeah.
The issue is the Herc, that I'm going to have to get a gallon or 2 Herc, or 10 gallons or 100 gallons, depending on how big my grow is. So if I decide that I'm going to do the Bloom Chaos, I'm going to get enough Herc to make it go, what other things would you need to put in there, or can you just go that? What would you need to do to make this work?
Pretty much the Herc is going to be your mainstay, and then if you start to see any signs of stress or a deficiency, then if you're using Tritons, if you're using Circes, bump those up as well for the next few feedings just to help that plant acclimate and stay on cruise control.
Okay. And your Medusa and Gaia are going to be helpful in or no?
I would just maintain those.
Those are going to be a broad-based kind of thing to give it, because it's not just going to want that calcium from Herc. It's going to want everything, and those are a broad-based, help you with everything to give you it.
But doubling those maybe not necessary compared to doubling the calcium products.
Sure, but if you so you decided you're going to use Bloom Chaos. You're using your Herc, and you're getting some deficiencies, and you're new to this game, and you don't really know what the deficiencies. Could you just over Gaia or over Medusa to fix those things, or is that going to be a problem as well?
Gaia, I can see we have a lot of people using that Gaia stress flush. So if the plants are just off kilter, something doesn't seem right, they stop everything and they do that one Gaia reset at 1 ounce per gallon. It kind of just
gets everything in order.
It cleans the roots and kind of lets them reacclimate what they're trying to accomplish. It's a reset button for many people. 1 ounce per gallon of Gaia.
Okay, good answer. Mike Picars. I'm a big fan of the show, and I have a question regarding 2 Microbe Life products. I really value the episodes where you compare SLF to Photo Plus and provide honest feedback. I can't recall any previous episodes where reviewer asked for a recommendation between Microbe Life's Root Dip and Photo Plus. Totally different things. Root Dip is
yeah, but they're like us. They have very similar, like Medusa and Gaia, where you got a lot of the same ingredients. It's just the proportion of those ingredients in the bottle, which would make one more of a rooting one more of a microbial flowering one.
And there's no hormonal aspect to their root dip. It's just what they think will make roots dip. So but I mean, Photo Plus is.
Well, I mean,
they're all Photo Plus.
Yeah, and really, if you own Photo Plus and you own SLF, I would use those in conjunction and get my root dip, because I'm getting the rooting from the SLF. I'm getting all the microbial microbes from the Photo Plus. Mm-hmm. And the real big difference is, I think even says at the end, the ingredients are the same, but the humic acid and the root dip is more. So then add a little Zeus to your Photo Plus, and you've got essentially root dip.
I would buy, if I was rooting clones, I would get a hormonal type root thing, unless you have real issues with that.
Yeah.
If I were getting Photo Plus, I would not buy a Microbe Life product till I was dialed on my SLF and everything else before I would put another Microbe Life product in there.
Well, that's it. I've seen the Microbe Life line in a couple farms, and when I asked those guys how to use this, or like the fruit there's Photo Plus and fruit and veg enhancer and root dip and one more. Nourish C. Yes, so nobody uses Nourish C. Yeah. But between the other ones, they find in the fruit and vegetable enhancer, they'll use that mid-veg into the first week of flower and then enhance it with the Photo Plus to get it to flower up from that point.
This is dancing on the head of a pin in a hurricane.
Well, that's it. Brew compost tea and use Photo Plus, and you'll cover all your bases. Yeah, there you go. Shrek's asshole.
I didn't get the rest of the question, but that you did, so we're good, right?
I think so.
Okay. Southwest Hessian. Hey there, Bob and Scott. What would be your budget?
Glasses. Holy crap, I'm in denial of age.
What?
Well, I used to be able to read it from here. Now I'm out to here and going,
I'm going the other way.
Can you turn the light on? It was backwards. So
I know, it's funny.
Jeez, I'm old.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
You have to do this to read?
No, I'm fine with this, but see, my print's bigger than yours. And I didn't do anything to make the print bigger. That's just, I think you made your print smaller, maybe.
No, I think iPhone just said that.
Just like the nose.
Oh, you put a real date in your phone. Mine still thinks I'm 27.
It's like, oh, you're 27?
Yeah.
Let's see about that.
Yeah, yours is like, okay, Gramps,
here you go. Here you go.
3 words per side. I love when you're sitting behind some guy at the grocery store and he's going, my wife said to buy, and you're like, that's one sentence, bro. You've been scrolling for like 3 minutes.
What's going on there? It's like an eye chart.
Yeah, it is. It's like, can you read the 9th word? Well, that's in the same sentence, for sure. All right, sorry.
All right, Southwest Hessian. Hey there, Bob and Scott. What would be your budget recommendation for an air pump for compost tea? And what would you use to deal with root rot? Okay, let's just go with that. So there's no cheap or expensive air pumps. They're just air pumps. Am I right about that?
No, I mean, aren't there like super expensive, crazy, fancy ones now in the
There's
industry?
$26 bottles of water, but I mean, if you go
the
to
Aero Mixer is probably like a higher end. It's an air pump and a water pump.
Yeah, because it actually creates an air vortex in there, which will be your higher end pump. Honestly, the downfall of air pumps is that if you just have a cheap little air pump and a 5-gallon bucket, you've got this one channel of air. And you need agitation, rotation, and aeration. So, you know, if you're going to go with the cheapest air stones, then you've got to buy a cheap aquarium pump to circulate that while they're actually germinating.
So what would you say is the minimum good air pump?
For most people, like a 500 GPH is like for like a 5-gallon up to maybe like a 30-gallon. If you're wanting something bigger, like 55, probably like the 1700 is, and then multi-outlet is what it comes with. But you could hook it up to just one big giant stone or multiple little ones.
So they'll sell like diffuser stones or a whole bunch of little diffuser stones that you can pocket the whole thing with a bunch of little stones that are all creating that same air.
So Alibaba, Amazon, the pet store, I mean, can you get this thing anywhere? I mean, any kind of, you just get, there's no special one, but you want to get a spec.
Yeah.
500
We carry, I think, Eco Plus here, and we can always do a mail order for you.
Okay, so someone can call you.
Yeah,
okay.
We can get you sized up based on the container.
Send an email and they'll get more specific with your
So
size.
you do need a decent one, but you don't need an amazing one, and you don't want to get a crappy one. Okay.
Well, and if you don't have good air, then you're not growing good microbes. And if you're not growing good microbes, hey, good boy! If you don't grow good microbes, then you're growing bad microbes, and that can usually cause problems.
And how much does something like that cost?
Ooh, inflation. I'm gonna I'd have to look it up. Which
is it $10 or $200?
For a good size one, probably about 30 to 40 nowadays. For like a good 5-gallon.
So it's a little one. It's not nothing.
The big commercial ones now are over $100.
Oh yeah,
so
well, the compost tea brewers, I mean, you're in the thousands now because there's proof that works. So
big
go online and find a lot of DIY compost tea people. But don't, I mean, an air stone in a bucket, I don't care who you think you are, it's not brewing a good diverse tea. You're brewing a bacteria, maybe one or two, versus if you have that aeration and you got the circulation and everything's diffused just right, you can really grow amazing things in compost teas.
So what am I seeing? Does it look like I'm making pasta? It's bubbling like a ton, or is there like a little bloop, bloop, bloop?
Well, the smaller the air bubbles, the more diffused oxygen you're going to get in solution, which means more bacteria and beneficial fungi are going to survive inside that.
So if I got the right one, I'm seeing bubbles coming up.
Yeah,
it's like it's noticeable.
Jacuzzi tubbing, but not big bubbles, fine bubbles.
Okay.
And bubbles don't mean shit when it comes down to your compost is done. It's not. I can add 1 drop of Hygeia into any compost tea and finish your compost tea in 2 seconds because it's just saponins and proteins. When a lot of people see that bubbling up on the tea, they think immediately, oh, my bacteria is alive. Not necessarily. That can just be aerated proteins like the ocean. When you go out there and you see all that foam coming on, that's just air churning into protein, which then makes that foam. So the best way is to go on the inside of your bucket, inside of your compost tea sock, or right on the outside of your pump. If it's slimy like a mucus around those things, that's biofilm from bacterial waste. That means you have grown great compost. So, just so you know, stop saying, it's bubbly, it's good tea.
Root rot.
Stop overwatering. Get a medium that's more aerated, more aeration to it, better drainage.
I've soaked my plant. What do I do? Just
let it go until it dries up.
Okay. And then, if you know you're a soaker, you'd water less, or would you put some more pumice or something in your soil?
Both. I mean, if you have root rot from watering, then you need to either double your drainage or cut your feeding to half. Because root rot is usually a suffocation of the root, and they just rot out.
They're not drinking it anymore, and so it just sits there.
Well, they build a film around it, so they actually start to rot because they can't intake or let go anything out of the root system.
You're done.
Hygrozyme, unfortunately, would probably be your best bet. Just to do a root rinse. It'll eat that shit off. It'll digest the rot that occurred, let it dry, and then go back to feeding.
going to put a fan in there or something? How do you get that water out of the plant? Will it will drain eventually if you
temperature, evaporation, and time.
So make the room a little warmer, but not too warm. Put some air in there, but not too much air.
Yeah, maybe consider not using hard wall pots in the future. Go with fabric pots. They root rot a lot less because there's more aeration. They can actually breathe a lot better. So, yeah, root rot's a trick. Just generally, it's because you're dense soil and overwatering.
So he says, I flushed with plain water and SLF. I recently moved across town, and it feels like I'm having to relearn everything all over again. Most frustrating. So,
I wonder,
what do you think happened there?
I don't know. I mean, it sounds like if it's a cross-town situation, it's either new house, bad environment, and new water source.
Maybe he's in the basement instead of the attic, or who knows what's going on. But it's most likely it's not the water. You're putting the same amount of water in there. It's most likely the environment.
Most likely. Yep. Add more drainage to your next batch of soil. That'll probably help a lot.
And that would be pumice, or what would
pumice, perlite, whatever.
Yeah,
not everybody lives on the West Coast, unfortunately.
So
pumice is expensive on the East Coast.
Oh,
here it's free. We cover the roads in it.
Yeah. Okay. And that would be what you would do. There's no other.
Okay. I mean, that's what you do in the field too. Is you try to correct it with a bunch of beneficials. Beneficials will help, but if you're saturated and always saturated, the beneficials will drown too. So you have to create an aerated soil. Some people even take one of those big air discs with that air pump and put it underneath their pot and force air up through the pot to promote that aeration. It dries your soil a lot quicker, so if you do something like that, you got to kind of be on top of feeding a lot more often.
If I'm trying to learn not to overwater, which is ultimately what this probably is, I'm just trying to water more often with less water and trying to get my game back together.
Yeah,
that's how I would relearn it.
Well, one guy I've been working with, he literally starts with a brand new fresh bag of 4, puts it on a scale, and that's 10 gallons. He grows everything in 10 gallons. And he's like, so that's the starting weight. If it's heavier than this, I don't water it. If it's lighter than this, I water it. And that's kind of his game.
That's a great way.
It's easier for him to just monitor it by weight. Yeah. So start checking your weights, too. That might help.
Good tip.
It's a tip.
East Bay J! I brew my teas in a 5-gallon bucket with an air stone. Do I really need to bother with a filter bag for my compost and castings? The filter bag just kind of holds it together, right? It's not actually filtering it; it's just holding it to one place
so you medium out. And so basically, if you're not using a agitation pump, then there's no problem. Yeah. The only reason I keep mine in the sock is because I keep my water turning, and that medium would go into my impeller.
Pump and just get
yeah. But no, a lot of compost they'll just throw. I mean, air and water and poop, and that's compost.
So if you're using a water pump, you don't want it going through the water pump, but if you're using an air stone, it makes no difference.
Yeah, or if you're going through any type of fertigation, you'll definitely want to filter that out too.
Sure, because you're going to be using. Yeah. If you're not, I mean, is having that stuff kind of in there, having it kind of juicy, having more, not juicy, but a little thicker, is that better for you? Think you're getting that stuff in your plant?
It won't hurt anything to add that in as if you're just like scooping out of there and watering plants, you're just adding liquid worm castings and compost, so it's just
not a terrible thing.
Yeah, you're not going to hurt a thing by doing that. So yeah. If you're not doing heavy agitation, then you don't need a sock.
Okay. Easy to slip. Would you use a little SLF or Photo Plus on feed days or save for tea days?
Depends on who you know. I know the SLF guy, so I use it all the time.
All the time.
And when I juice for breakfast. But if I had to choose, I was budget grower, I would put my Photo Plus and SLF on a tea day or on a fresh water day, and I would independently do my feedings on its own day.
And would you separate your SLF from your Photo Plus to get your SLF benefits, or you're going to get them no matter what?
It's diversity at that point, because none of those, for the amount of time you're adding Photo Plus into a gallon and SLF, you're stirring it and adding it in, there's not a lot of competition going on in that gallon. So they're not going to try to adversely kill each other off before they get into the soil. So to save time, you can blend those two as long as you're not doing it for days.
So, but am I getting some like kind of de-root rotty kind of things from my SLF that I'm not getting from my... is the SLF doing some sort of enzyme-y type things, or is an enzyme just a microbe and we're just calling it different things when it's
an enzyme is just, we don't know what the hell it is, so we call it an enzyme, where Newton knows what he has, but since Big Ag doesn't know what he has, he has to call it an enzyme, when in all reality, his is a liquid bacillus product. So, what was the question?
Are all microbes
the same?
They're not the same, obviously, but
they don't even have the same
They might
benefits.
as well be the same to us. We're just putting stuff in there because we don't know.
Well, we do know that bacillus does help with
Okay.
root fungus and root diseases, and they will colonize to protect the root as it grows, so those are good.
Okay.
And a lot of the bacteria in PhotoPlus is more designed to eat and digest organic matter and meals to make that a delivery source for the plant to eat.
It's the baby bird pre-chewing the food for the baby bird
absolutely.
a little bit.
And plants don't actually eat; they absorb.
Yeah.
And they absorb what other things consume and digest into a plant-ready amino acid enzyme or food source. So the combination of the two, you're just double whamming and getting a better effect. But I would do those if you're going to add them together. Do them on their own day, or a tea day, or a water day, and then leave the feed to just feeding.
Yeah. Okay.
I think a lot of times with feeding, people will throw in their SLF, throw in their microbe life, then they'll start stacking all this food on, and then they'll pH adjust, and they've now negated everything they put in there microbially because they've gone from a neutral water to 900 parts per million of activity, and then a pH of 5 to 8, and it's like you've just nuked all the life in there.
So if my tea day is either a tea, and I can put my tea and I can do my SLF and my microbe life whenever, I can pour some on there. But if my tea is my microbe life, then it's on my tea day.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If I'm brewing a compost tea, I'll use those two in with a feed or on a water day, and I'll use my compost tea as my compost day. But
you don't just put it in there. Cooper.
So everybody that was watching that question is like, just wait, just put it in there?
Just pour the...
Dear Bob and Scott, I just put it in there and my shit's ruined. P.S. You suck.
Brew some tea. If you're not going to brew some tea, use some PhotoPlus.
Yep.
Your SLF, put in 32 ounces of water, pour it on there.
You're going to be fine.
A question we get a lot is whether you can use conjunction photosynthesis or LSLF with your compost tea.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of times what we've recommended to customers is doing that at the end of cycle. Yeah, a lot of those products have so much bacteria and spores in them and fungi life that if you put that at the beginning of the brew cycle, they can end up eating everything in there. So it's okay to do, you just want to do that at the very end of the brew cycle before you water in.
And some of the diversity in the PhotoPlus will actually die because the aeration in the compost tea, because most of theirs are anaerobics due to in a bottle. And so when you start adding air and you've got this bacteria that's airborne, aerated, you add in an anaerobic, and there's oxygen present, the anaerobic won't stand a chance to the aerobic bacteria because they're living in their house. It's like a visiting team going to play at a different field. Good luck.
Yeah,
you got
playing
the
at the big
whole
house
team here pissed.
Yep.
All right, that was me.
Cooper, can these replace? He's talking about the Apollo and Pluto. Can these replace the Easy Teas from Culture? And I have a
should have and can and
I was the other day. I was wondering whatever happened to those dudes, and so I looked them up. And on the Facebook it says,
"Sorry, we took all your money, but we'll be back in business maybe next year."
Well, it more said we're not going to be in business this year, and we appreciate you to not bother us.
Yeah, because they have a whole bunch of people that they owe money to because they put it in their stores and they forgot to register it across all the places. You know, we're sitting on a few pounds of stuff that we can't get rid of thanks to a stop sale. So yeah, we don't promote that anymore.
Hopes and prayers.
Hopes. Prayers are for people I care about.
Don Juan! Or as we like to call him, Don Magic Juan. Question about Apollo. I am in veg and not in my final pot. Would it be a waste to inoculate with microbes before my final transplant?
No, Don, feel free to use it whenever you get it, even if you are in like a little 6-inch to a gallon pot, because the azos in Apollo is a colonizing bacteria. They don't even need to germinate. They literally are growing in the package. So like if you open your package and it's rock hard, break off a chunk. That azos is literally consuming everything. So once you add it into a small pot, those azos will continue to multiply and divide, and they will keep colonizing in there. So even if you take that little pot and put it in a 7-gallon pot, they're just going to go out and colonize more. You can re-inoculate if you need to or want to. I don't think you need to, really. I mean, one inoculation of azos should be all you need for nitrogen fixing.
So you don't need 2?
I don't think so.
Although
not unless you're doing like a 10-week veg or something, then maybe, but
you do need
4 to 6, 7 weeks, you should be totally fine. And your first inoculation in a 6-inch pot or greater will have enough mass to then colonize up to a 7 to 10 gallon.
And it's in that, a little soil is going to fall off, but you're still, it's in there.
No, it's ridiculous. That stuff is scary how fast
Focused
it
around
grows.
the roots. And, yeah.
When we first got our first ton from Mark at Green Grow and we landed it, we packaged off, 25 pounds on little packages for everyone to use samples. And then we went back to go package more, and the thing was a giant brick. And he's like, "Oh, we didn't ship it in buckets." He's like, "That has to be airtight because it will suck moisture out of the air, and then the bacteria will just start growing, and they'll grow, and they'll literally bind everything together into a giant stone." So we learned the hard way. So did Mark.
No joke.
But he took care of us because it was a good company to work with.
He probably has registered his products as well.
Nah, we kind of had to do it. We're still fighting California because of a labeling issue down there on cows, but
I'm not piling.
Yeah,
I was piling on. There's no need to pile on. There's no need to pile on. Edward Cooper. We're gonna call you Coop from now on. How much do we use the Pegasus? Thanks. So, this question was in regard to something that I do not remember, but Pegasus. We talked about Pegasus a little bit, but when would you need some context, don't you?
well, I mean, blindly in veg, as a foliar feed to help green up, as a root drench in veg to help speed up top growth, and mid-flowering to enhance fruity and floral terpenes.
Is it more of a utility product than a
Need?
need? Yeah.
Well, yeah, again, we put the same feather proteins in Medusa and in Gaia, so that you're getting it no matter what in the broad spectrum, but if you need, a lot of people need extra greening, they just feel like they're not getting the same color. This protein will help them green up really nicely without elongating or stretching the cells.
Some nitrogen type
like
thing.
nitrogen guanos or TIS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a way to get some green back without throwing some.
Or enhance your terpenes in mid-flower, because a lot of guys will start adding it in like 1 teaspoon max, but a teaspoon per gallon at weeks 4, 5, 6, maybe even into 7 on a 10 week, and that enhances a lot of those floral and fruity terpenes.
So, like Megamorpheus, that may be kind of a utility, but a lot of people use it for a flavor thing. Would you use Pegasus for a flavor thing, and you just use it all the way through for some particular system, or some particular thing you want, or no?
No, because one thing we found in the early bloom is that it keeps the elongation going when you don't want the elongation to continue going.
Okay.
So it just sets this plant on this track.
This is not a
Yeah, once you're out of veg, cut it down. Then if you want it for terpene profile, wait till your flowers developed and it's really just like a good sized fruit and all your trichomes are there. Then you start adding it in to really make those oils kind of tilt towards the floral and
okay, so it is a flavoring thing, but not all the way through. It's in it. And would you say most flavoring things are an at the end kind of thing?
When the flower's in the heaviest part of development to the end.
This is when we use the things we're using as a flowering type. Okay, as a flavoring type thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Daydreamer. Hey, Bob. You should do an episode on how to use all the extras, such as Peg and others, like when starting to use what gets cut out the way we do on other newts. So I guess, so we just talked about this a little bit with the Pegasus at the end. Is there anything you use at the start and then don't use at the end?
Like the end meaning what?
Well, so I'm using this as a flavoring thing, or as kind of a little. I'm not using it as my all the way through thing. I'm using it as something for some sort of effect. Is there anything I would do in veg to use for effect, or all these things something where I get towards, I've got solid flowers. Not like I'm starting a flower. I've got solid flowers, and and I haven't yet cut everything out. When I've cut everything else out, I'm really at the end. I'd cut those out as well.
Oh yeah. When you're done, just cut everything in water.
This is late bloom, but not
mid to late bloom.
Okay.
Yeah. I got a good example of one. Kraken is like a product that I like to use during veg, a little bit later veg after I've done all my training. Cracking's benefits is helping to strengthen stem structure and the stems themselves. And so a lot of people do their training and then either foliar spray or soil drench with the Kraken. And I like to use that up about halfway through bloom is usually when I start to tail that one back. A lot of people continue using it all the way through. It's just where I've seen kind of the most benefit is in late veg through.
It seems pretty common too with that about mid bloom. About mid bloom, people
That's
just
because I'm
stop.
generally becoming a little bit heavier with other things,
Yeah.
like the tritons and
try to enhance
so I
other
just
stuff
kinda
at that
start to
point.
lessen those ones out.
Yeah, good answer.
Do you pull some things out because you're just pouring too much stuff on there and you want to focus on your herc and things like that?
I have. Well, especially when I get past week 7, it really just becomes let me get to the finish line. Even if it's 3 weeks left, I really start weaning off of all the base nutrients and really start focusing on
what I want to do.
Just herc, afro, depending on the strains, triton, maybe a little Pegasus here and there. But I try to really reduce that recipe down so that in the last 10 to 14 days, my ppms in my soil are already starting to dip, and then I can just focus on the flush and really drain it out and make it smooth.
Okay. I just purchased, this is ZKDK. I just purchased the new special stickers. He's referring to the Apollo and the Pluto. Does this affect pH at all? I used the Boneyard pack to flower this time, and I have never had more beautiful flowers. I want to use both the Apollo and the Pluto and the Boneyard together. So first of all,
No need to use them together.
You're not going to get, well, you're only going to use this a couple times. They're not going to affect your pH in any way, are they? Or
not at that 1 to 2 teaspoons in a gallon of water. You
No.
shouldn't have any, unless your water's messed up. But
Yeah.
no, there's nothing in there that should drop the pH where you have to be concerned about it.
And we're not pounding on these either. We're just putting some in.
And we're not feeding the plants.
Yeah.
So this isn't about feeding. This is a hydration to get spores and bacteria into the root zone. And just use them individually. The Azos more in the vegetative stage, then maybe add the Pluto in the last week of veg, first week of flower, and then again at the end of week 3, early 4. And that's all you need of that for an inoculation to get the colony strong and rich.
And just while you're on that customer, you said ZKDK?
ZKDK.
Okay, I just want to give him a special shout out.
Yeah.
He sent us a cool little compost tea aerator little thing that he 3D printed. He sent that to the store just so we could try it out and see what we thought.
Hey.
I haven't gotten your response because we haven't actually brewed tea in it quite yet, but we've set it all up, looked at it. It's amazing. I just wanted to thank you for your ingenuity. And this spring, when we start our compost tea things up, we'll be sure to use it and give it a real trial at that
do a
point.
little video of it when we do it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
Hey, selfless plug. Didn't even know.
I didn't even know. It was right at the end. It was perfect. Perfect timing. So
he wins.
He wins. He wins a sticker.
Yeah,
stickers for everybody.
Sticker.
So it's the big reveal.
I figured you'd like to hear that.
No, that's awesome. Right?
Wanted to get him a response back,
Yeah.
but a little.
How the hell did he email that when we just talked about it? We haven't even posted this
I looked
online
it up
yet.
because I heard ZKDK and I see he emails me a lot and we chat and
nice.
I've been meaning to get back to him on that diffuser that he sent in to us. Ryan and I plugged it in. And
This is way cooler than getting back to him on a.
it bubbles a whole lot.
Faceless.
I figured that's why I figured I'd throw it in here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
A couple things in emails I got this week. One guy sent me a picture, and this isn't to knock you, but you probably knew what you're doing, so bless you. When people send in their questions to me, a diagnostic issue, I'm having an issue with this, that, and the other, and they send me we're talking a 5-foot plant, but they send me the bottom 6 inches of the foliage and how the flower looks brown, and this leaf is discolored, and this one's. Yeah, they're not getting light when they're 5 feet below in a 300 watt bulb. So if you're not, don't ever send me a picture of the top or the bottom 2 feet of a 5-foot plant at the end of bloom, because they're all going to look like shit no matter what. And if they don't look like shit, that means you have so much nitrogen and amino acids in your soil that they're going to taste like shit.
Yeah.
Because all that should not survive a whole 10 week of bloom with a canopy and flower production.
This is like the inside of your arborvitae.
Yeah.
It's
if
all
you look
brown
down
there.
at your plant and everything looks gorgeous here, and then you look on the side and you got yellow leaves on there, that's supposed to happen.
We definitely have that happen a lot during the summertime. Outdoor gardeners here, they bring in a couple leaves and they have them in a bag because we're worried about pests and things. And my first question is, where was the location on the plant of this problem? Because that is 9 times out of 10 they have, and it's like you said, their first couple times doing it, and you want every leaf to look beautiful, as we all do, and that's just not the case when the plant gets to a certain height. They start to pull the energy from them.
And the plant does this by design. It's literally, it develops all that growth when it's brand new at the beginning of its stage, so it can utilize the energy from that part of the plant later on in life. So a lot of times you'll see even, a little tiny bud at the very base of the plant, but you got this bud up here this big and you're worried about that bud. You weren't going to trim that anyway. So go ahead and trim that off now, so you don't even want to be tempted to try to trim that, because it's only going to end up like this big and not even a bone hit, so don't bother. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Yeah, literally. Or it goes, oh, I didn't even inhale. Well, it's because it's this big. So, but the rest of the guy's plant, I'm like, dude, it looks great. Up your herc for a feeding, I guess. But there was nothing wrong with the guy's plant.
Okay.
So it's my understanding, I know nothing about this, I did not pay attention. We have a contest with the Cyber Mud Day.
We do.
And what are they winning?
They're winning a Greek kit in gallons.
Oh, snap!
Greek kit, gallons, minus, it'll be a quart of Zeus, a quart of Chaos, plus a gallon of Circes, I believe.
Oh!
And then probably, depending on who wins it, some special extra stuff that we'll throw in. I tend to, when I'm packing up these, I tend to just find stuff
that may work for that particular
throw
person.
out. Sunglasses, old toys. I've said...
We had a nice image on the webpage. It showed everything that you were getting on there. You're going to get all of that.
You're going to dig around a little bit.
Gallons,
I'll
a couple parts of some items.
Multi-tool from Uline. Toss one of those.
All right. So there's 16 spots on here. So you're going to do 16 of these?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm
we're going to draw 16 people from the hat, and those 16 people are going to make it onto the wheel.
Just so you know, there's names other than Mike in here. There's a Matthew.
Oh, yeah.
There's Matthew again.
Michael.
There are a couple Matthews and Michaels.
There's a Jake.
The odds when you have 55 orders.
Marshall.
William,
that one I just pulled. Jake.
So I do want to take the time to thank you all for ordering.
Friends and family.
Was that Jake the best name?
Joyce.
Oh.
Isn't that her real name, or is it just Joy, J-O-Y?
It's Joy. It's not even Joyce, it is Joy.
Yeah,
just Joy.
There you go.
Alright.
Alright, I'm mixing all the mics together. I mean, Jake's and...
You're the picker, I'm the grinner.
No, he's the picker. He's the OCG.
16!
So I want to take the time to at least thank everybody for putting in your orders during that cyber sale.
Yeah.
We truly appreciate it. It gets us a little bit busier this time of year, so we do appreciate all your support, and hope that sale helps you guys out with your pockets a little bit as well. So, we ready to pull 16?
16.
All right. Matthew's going to be number 1.
Should have shook
him. Got a Jake.
Somebody now flip him. Alright.
He's been flipping them. Jake 2. We got a Devin as the 3rd. We got John as a 4th. We got a Wade as a 5th. We got a Colby as 6. Michael as 7. A David as 8. James as 9. Corey as 10. We got Dale as 11 and a John as 12. Frank as 13. Joyce as 14.
Hey, I knew I was giving
Linda as 15. And Jonathan as 16. And so what we're going to do, because I know a lot of you guys are concerned about privacy and things like that when we're shipping, that's why we always ship our stuff in non-revealing boxes. So we'll just announce the name and then the state and then the order number for you guys' own privacy as well.
All right.
So
you will be contacted.
Yeah,
I'll have to borrow some boxes. Mine are more descript.
All right. So I'll give you tape and the thing if you want to get them on there.
Do you need them halved, or are they going to?
I'm going to have them. Yeah, it's a little bit better that way. I didn't know until just now.
Hey, you filled all these out while we did the show, so that's impressive.
I did. And my handwriting stayed pretty much the same throughout it. It was starting to wane a little bit towards the end, so hopefully we can read all the order numbers clearly. This thing makes a great noise. You guys are gonna love this.
For the first few years, we just had it rigged. We weighted the bottom one, put all our friends there.
I'm not editing this out. Just leaving this whole part in.
I would.
So
It builds the suspense.
Yeah. Well, we're really to see who wants to give a crap about whether or not they get a bunch of free. I mean, that's a lot of money right there.
Yeah.
Real deal.
Plus, it's shipped to your door.
Plus, if anybody shipped anything, you see how much this the shipping is.
Yeah, shipping's not going down. Just FYI, everyone.
Just a few more.
That's the winner. Oh no, it better not be. It's gotta be Michael, I guarantee it now, because
You've jinxed it.
so many times. And I just randomly said, this guy will be the winner, and I looked down and said, Michael.
Well, you could do it close in so everyone knows we.
I will do a phone video of it as well. So I'm gonna get ready here.
All right, we are just about there.
I'll put it on here once you've blurred it.
All right, here's the last gentleman or
These
woman.
are just order numbers and states.
Yep, order numbers and states with their name.
All right,
So,
give her a spin.
you ready?
I'm ready.
All right,
I'm
the
ready.
are warmed up. I'd like to thank Ryan for making this wheel. This is pretty cool.
It's well balanced now.
Ooh, that John from Delaware.
Damn, that's expensive.
11515.
Nice.
Number 11515.
John's like, I only buy her from you guys.
Congratulations!
And I run a Lotus.
Again, thank you, everybody.
What's the show?
John.
The OCGFAM show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCGFAM show. See you tomorrow.